it was cool, but what I wanted to do was build cool things like games. So I was playing around with like Python around, I want to say like 18, 19. And I was like looking through documentation. I was taking this Coursera course on Python. I wanted to make a worm game. Like I love that worm game where the worm goes around and stuff. And that was like my first project. And ever since then, it was just something that was more so for fun, but it ended up being beneficial because I used that to get a scholarship to go to North Carolina A&T. So it was most of my tuition, and there I studied computer engineering. And what I really liked about my school was that, so North Carolina A&T is a historically Black university, meaning that 80% of my school is of African descent. So it really was a beautiful experience for me. And also it is a huge part of the reason why I wanted to, I retrace my roots back to Africa. But what I like the most about the school, and they're actually looking for study abroad applicants. So if y'all are interested in studying abroad there, like just let me know. I'll connect you with the right people. You can get a visa and everything. But if you take the HBCU, like the historically Black college culture, it's very welcoming, right? So at a lot of the other schools, like the MITs, the Dukes, Stanfords, it's really difficult to get access to your professors. You're typically talking to a TA or somebody who, you know, is relatively new to the field. But at my school, you have very easy access to the professors. So I was basically living in the offices of these professors, just getting to know them, talking to them. And that was how I got a really deep understanding of computers. The only reason, like, for me, I definitely wouldn't say that I'm the best builder. Like, you know, I check myself. But at the same time, there are things about programming where when you know the underlying hardware, it makes the software so much easier. Like I highly recommend, like if you are thinking about college, or if you are currently in college, studying computer engineering. So computer science is great. Don't get me wrong. If you're studying computer science, you know, stay in computer science. But if you really want to get a deep connection with the hardware, it's kind of like a mix of electrical engineering and computer engineering. And then I saw the message. I'm just gonna respond. So I'm lancing on everything, Twitter and Telegram mostly. I forgot where I was. Oh yeah. So I was studying computer engineering, and then it was like during college where I just got a solid understanding of how computers work. This is before like before I even knew about crypto, really. The only thing that I had heard about was Bitcoin, but I wasn't really an investor guy. So, and then also Bitcoin, I associated it with like trading and forex trading and stock trading. I'm like, I'm not a trader guy, bro. I'm a programmer. So I didn't get into crypto until 2021, like November 2021. And that was a year before I graduated college. So I had done, okay, so I guess this is relevant context as well. So if you're in school, do your best to do undergraduate research, because that was what I did. I just hung around my professor's office, and then I did research, and I wrote little essays and papers on things like, it was this one, like this LAPACK C++ library. I did a research report on it. It's basically a package for linear algebra. So if you're doing linear algebra in C++, just wrote a paper on it. BLAS, it's basically linear algebra script. It's kind of like a linear algebra library. It's I think that one's in C++ as well. Oh yeah, by the way, my first language was Java and my second was C++. I would say in a class, because I was playing around with Python before, but those weren't like real heavy duty projects. It was when I got interested in backend. So that was when I was just like, backend engineering, like hardware. It's really what I want to get into. And it's a big reason why I got into cryptography at the end of the day, because cryptography requires a strong backend expertise. And in my last year, I did a graduate course on cryptography. So like a lot of my foundation comes from college, really. I did 5 years in college, and it was basically the whole time I was just obsessed with the girls and computers. That was it. And it was a good 5 years, but during the 5th year, I just decided like I'm gonna get into this Web3 stuff. And the reason was because there was a lot of hype behind the NFTs. I was like, yo, okay, I'm hearing a lot about these NFTs. If it's technical, I can figure it out. Like, how do I make this? Because I was trying to make a little bit of money, right? So I learned how to write a Solidity program, and I deployed an NFT project. But what I realized is that it's not just a matter of programming to launch an NFT project. You have to be in the know. Like, you have to know the whales, you have to know the people who are gonna make your NFT boom, who are gonna make it, who are gonna make the market for you, right? So I had realized that there's levels to this crypto shit, and I was just a beginner. 2021 is like, in the grand scheme of things, it's still early, but at that time, I was like, oh man, I'm late as hell to this game, bro. And I knew about Bitcoin since 2017, and I never even checked this out. But I just love doing it. Like the whole Twitter community, the opportunity, and then the thesis. There was this program that I did. It was called Kernel, and it did. Basically, they gave you readings on why Web3. It's like, yeah, we have blockchain technology. Yeah, we have this cryptography stuff that can help us do things in private, and exchange value in private, and then on decentralized networks, no middleman. But why? And what Kernel did was kind of give me a solid understanding of the fact that this is the new wave of the financial system. So it's something that humans have been doing for thousands of years, upgrading financial systems. This is the next upgrade. So when I had read that, I was like, I've never been into finance. However, I know that money is the determining factor of basically everything. And if you could basically give programmable money directions that it cannot break, then you essentially remove all corruption. It was another part of like how I grew up, is that my dad in particular, like he hated corruption. There was a lot of corruption in the US for African Americans. And it's like, a lot of times people look at the United States as a beacon of truth and hope and everything. But in reality, like the disenfranchisement of Black people in America is like we're owed trillions. And nobody's talking. And now I guess Kamala's talking about reparations and everything, but I feel like the real reparations is just leaving us alone and letting us build the future that we want. And I think that if you were to build a new system that is completely separate from the colonial and imperial regimes, then you can really make a world that my kids would want to live in, right? So that was really the driving force behind me getting really deep into Web3. I really I like coding and everything, but the thesis, the philosophy of it really resonated with me. And I think that was a huge driving force in how I was able to just do like 10-hour days consistently, just getting better at focusing. I had realized that, yeah, I was a pretty good programmer, but I wasn't that good. And I just dedicated hours and hours and hours of time just to get better. So this is during my 5th year. Like my 5th year was no parties, no women. Like it was straight discipline. And in that 1 year, I got quite good at Solidity, got a beginner knowledge on like a lot of the programmable cryptographies, like ZK in particular. I was just kind of dabbling in it. I didn't really get it at first, honestly. The math was way too complicated. It took me a while, but that summer after I graduated, that was when I had interned at Andreessen Horowitz. And it was a great summer, but it made me realize like what the game is really about. You know what I'm saying? Andreessen Horowitz is a major player in the Web3 space. And like a big reason why I'm grateful for that opportunity is because during that one summer, I got a strong understanding of how the entire industry works. Not on a technical level, more so on a business level. Like what does what is a ZKEVM? What is a a consensus mechanism deal, like a bunch of the vocab. So after that internship, I was just kind of like on my own. I was like, this is my first time. And then a little bit more context. So I had interned at Apple twice. So in the beginning of my career, so remember, I was doing like linear algebra and stuff, undergraduate research. So linear algebra is used basically nonstop in machine learning. So I just got good at linear algebra, and then I applied for an undergraduate research program at Stanford, and I got in. So I spent my summer in 2018 at Stanford, and that was when I had learned like a lot about machine learning. I wasn't anywhere near close to getting into cryptography at that point. Most of my, like what I wanted to do was machine learning. So I actually spent 4 years in college focused on machine learning, and then my 5th year in crypto. So I come from that background. But what happened was the Siri team was looking for interns. They were at my school hiring for interns. And well, not the Siri team in particular, it was just Apple. And then Apple liked my background in linear algebra. They wanted me to join the Siri team. So I interned in 2019, and then I interned again in 2020. But 2020 was when COVID hit, right? And working at Apple in person was great in 2019. I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna work here after graduation. Especially when I got the return offer, I was like, okay, cool. This is nice. I could definitely see myself here. But then working remotely, it made me realize like that was the first idea that I got when I was just like, yo, I've been in the crib for 3 weeks. I haven't even seen anybody in person. And I'm like, I could be somewhere completely different and not even and still get my work done. You know what I'm saying? Because I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was quite miserable. I was like, if I was at home, I would be able to work still. I'm doing this remotely anyways. So that was the first thought of nomadism back then, but like I didn't think it would be a reality. And then what? So that was 2020, and then crypto hit, and I had realized that it was a question of, am I going to join the big guys, or am I going to join an industry where I could become a big guy? And that was the question. And during my 4th year, I thought about that thoroughly. I tried out, like I did another internship at Microsoft. And after that Microsoft internship, I was like, yeah, this big guy shit is for the birds, bro. I'm just gonna go see what happens in this crypto stuff. And then that was why I decided to go out on my own. So I applied for the Andreessen Horowitz internship in hopes that I would like get a job or get funding for this startup that I had. It was called Minute. It was an NFT social network. I guess it wasn't a startup. It was more so like a project that I was just building, and then tried to see if it would get traction. But like social media in Web3 is like still not a proven use case. I don't even think Farcaster is a use case because it's basically just Twitter for crypto folks. So I went to DevCon in Bogota in 2022. At this point, I was, I'm gonna answer the questions in the A1. Yeah, for sure. In engineering mathematics, if you look at fluid dynamics, most of the math in fluid dynamics is similar to how a lot of DeFi protocols work. If you think of Uniswap as, rather than two currencies, you think of them as the two pools. You think of them as two pools of liquid, of fluid. When they exchange it, I mean, it follows the same principles, right? It's literally just fluid dynamics, basic fluid dynamics. And that's what money is. Money is called a currency because it has a current. It is the element of water, right? So when you think of, pneumatics and fluid dynamics, that's how we'll build the next generation of financial logic. So definitely engineering mathematics, absolutely. Is it easy to get an internship into these FANG companies in the USA? Definitely not. Definitely not. I was the only person to do that twice. And my second time was a co-op. It was 6 months. Let me see. So we were talking about, so this is when I got my first freelancing gig. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I went to DevCon in 2022. You're interested in studying abroad? Okay, send me an email. I'll connect you with the study abroad coordinator at North Carolina A&T.
Awesome.
All right. So I went to DevCon in 2022. At this point, I had known about crypto for about like 10 months. And I was, still quite a beginner in Solidity and all of the logic, but I was learning fast. Like I was putting most of my hours into this stuff. Like I lost many friends during that period of time because it was like, yo, I haven't seen you in months. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. But sometimes that has to happen in order for you to really elevate. And why? So during DevCon, that was when I got a lot. Like, it's why I encourage. Like, the reason why we wanted to make the AOC, the African On-Chain Collective, and everything was to just get as many people to DevCon as possible, because it's like unbiased, the best way to get your feet solid in the Web3 ecosystem. Because not only do you learn about everything that's going on, but you're able to meet people. And the reason why we actually want to work with central banks is so that there's more incentive for people who work in crypto to be able to get visas for other countries. So for example, if you wanted to get a visa in Thailand, you don't have to go all the way to Abuja in order to get your papers cleared. So I think this is the way we go. We work with the governments to make this stuff happen because they're the gatekeepers here. They're the bottleneck. So hopefully next DevCon, we'll have everybody there. But I think DevCon is important because I was able to get my first freelancing gig, and then I was also able to get the software that allowed me to pay myself in crypto legally in the United States. So it was just one of those things where had I not done that, I don't think I would have been able to really get on my feet in the Web3 ecosystem, because now that I had my first freelancing internship, it was dope. But the thing is, I was still a beginner in Solidity, right? So it was a little bit of shit talking. The project itself, I completed it, but it was never used. Like it was basically an open source project so that people can have safes, sign safes, simple agreement for future equities. So startup funding contracts can be done on chain. So the thing is that that's a regulatory nightmare. And then two, I was a beginner in Solidity. And what happened was like 3 months later, somebody found a bug in it. And I was just like, fuck, like this is the end of my career. Oh my God. It was such a dramatic moment for me, but I was over exaggerating. Everybody makes mistakes. But it was definitely a big driving force for me to just be like, okay, I need to be serious about this stuff. This is people's money here. This isn't Python worm games anymore. It's people's money. So that was like a reality check where I'm like, yo, these people take this shit serious. So after that time, I started taking it way more serious. And then but then I was just like, you know what, maybe finance isn't my thing. What if I want to get more into this cryptography stuff, right? Cryptography is still very serious, but at least it's finite mathematics where you don't have to take a legal contract and translate it into a solidity contract. Like bridging those two, I feel like it's harder than just doing the solid mathematics of cryptography engineering. So that was when I decided to take this zklearning.org. I think that's it. Let me verify the link. Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, it's a dash in it. Okay. That one. This on different ZK protocols, and like I'm not gonna lie, I was confused most of the way through, but it gave me a solid foundation to keep learning, reading the papers, and understand what's going on. So after my second freelancing, after my first gig where I wrote the smart contracts for the protocol, I was just like, man, I gotta find a way to get into the ZK shit. I gotta find a way to get into the ZK shit. And then I came across, I was just going down a rabbit hole, and I came across this Telegram group that discusses this thing called zero knowledge machine learning. It was like 80 people in it. Right now, the chat has like 3,000 people or something, and nobody talks in it because it's just too many people. But at that time, it was a very new phenomenon. And I was just like, okay, this is something that could be early on. This is something that I can actually contribute to because I come from a machine learning background, right? So all you have to do is take this complicated ass ZK stuff and then mix it with what you already know with TensorFlow and PyTorch. And it actually worked out pretty well because I was involved with the community, and then I was able to, so I was hosting the community calls for this open source project called ezkl as I was learning how the library works because I was pretty new to Rust. And when it came to the ZK stuff, I had learned mostly in CIRCOM, but I had never worked with Halo 2. Halo 2 is, in my opinion, is far more complicated than CIRCOM and Noir. But I was still adamant on learning about Halo 2, right? I hope y'all don't mind if I just drink a little bit. So the goal was to somehow find a use case where you needed to combine machine learning and zero knowledge proofs. And it was a library called ezkl that I just grew really fond of. It was when I went to ETH Denver. So this was ETH Denver 2023, where right before zero knowledge machine learning, and then I stayed at a hacker house where the creator of the library was staying. So it was like luck, honestly. So I was able to stay with him for 2 weeks, and they added me onto the team as a contractor. So my responsibility was to just write documentation for the entire library because it was a win-win. I could learn exactly how the library works in exchange for some documentation. And then I also got in a couple PRs for the actual repository. But what happened was, as the team started to scale, they're asking me, they're like, oh, what do you think about a developer relations position? And I was like, I'd rather not, because I would really like to be on a level of development with the library. Like I'm still learning, but my contributions are growing. I feel like long term, I want to be more so of a core engineer versus somebody who's like front facing. Because even though I do enjoy talking to people, like my happy place is just alone coding. No noise, no distractions like that. I think that's where I'm really happy. So it was one of those situations where it just didn't work out. So we parted ways with Ezekiel, but I still wanted to do zero knowledge machine learning. So I kept digging, kept digging, and then I came across these. One of my friends introduced me to the founders of a company called Giza, and what Giza was doing, they were doing zero knowledge machine learning, but they weren't using Halo 2 or Rust. They were using Cairo, and I had never even touched the Starkware ecosystem, and I honestly was not planning on it. But what I really liked about the company was that essentially what they wanted me to do was build a compiler that took Onyx models and translated it into Cairo, which I thought in particular that project was cool because you first off, you don't have to use that much Cairo. It's basically just like Rust. If you're just doing the machine learning operations, you're not doing any smart contract stuff, right? So there's no smart contracts on Cairo. So I was like, you know what, that's solid. And then also, I was curious about zero knowledge starts. And when I saw the ETH start white paper, I was really excited because I had looked into fast Fourier transforms for my degree, but it was so confusing to me. And I was looking for an excuse. I was like, you know, why would I ever use, in college, I was like, why would I ever actually use a fast Fourier transform? Like, of course, you want to use it for like signals and systems, information theory. But if we're being honest, the fast transforms are completely which is a core form or a core. Snarks have because can't always like excuse a trace thing. So you can do any operation. This is why so many ZKVMs like the sync P1, R1, what was it called? Bubble cotton, bubble gum, puff, power puff. It was like puff. There's a ZKVM out there that's called like puff. They all use it on start. So I was thinking,
Right. So Lance will be with us in I think he has a little network challenge. He'll be joining us very short. Yeah.
Daily cam.
I have you.
Yeah, I think we lost Lance, or what happened?
Yeah. His network is so he's come back.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So let's hang on whilst we wait for him to come back, and then he will continue with the exciting session, which got all of us stuck to our seats.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So in the meantime, the floor is open. If anybody has any contribution to make, you can come on board with it whilst we wait to see how Lance fixes his network issue and then join us back. It means this network issue is not peculiar to our terrain here. It could actually cross seas and oceans to reach as far as Thailand and others, and then we don't need to be worried so much. Yeah, okay. We are glad to have Lance back. I can see he has joined back.
Hey, y'all.
So, Lance, if you are back, yes, we are glad to have you back. I think the
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
You were
so
gonna say
please
something,
go ahead.
Kim?
No, you just go ahead and continue where you stop.
Oh,
Before the
parts
can you hear
because
me? Okay.
gee. Hello?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
Lance. Yeah, we can hear you. You can proceed. We were actually waiting on you to get back and continue with the session. So the floor is yours now. Again.
In start, and the reason why was because I memory, and it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, we need better technology to build out more robust. So I for zero knowledge machine learning model, but then I came across Giza, and or I should say,
Hey, bro, can you still hear us? Can you hear me?
Yeah, me, I can hear you,
Okay.
but I can't hear you.
Wow. A moment, please. I think we've lost Lance. I just texted him. I think he rejoined a bit, but if he said something and you didn't quite understand, I think now is the time to put it in the comment section so that just after the presentation you check all those points.
Okay. So hey guys, if you have anything to kind of put across, not necessarily related to this deep dive session, anything related to the whole bootcamp, the whole of the week tasks, anything you have for now, you can bring it on board. We will try to address it whilst we wait for Lance to come back. If he's not able, I think from what he has been able to share with us, not to generalize, but I think he is enough to be able to inspire, to be able to motivate, and to be able to give us a guide on how to approach things as we all try to sail through our developer journey. He has shared his social media link. Last knows at every on every platform. You can actually reach out to him. Just tell him you are the one. You actually participated in the deep dive session he handled. And Lance is a generous person. He will be able to offer you the kind of intellectual assistance you are seeking for. So don't. These are the benefits of this kind of setup boot camps. Maybe it might have been difficult or not even being difficult. Many of us wouldn't have had the opportunity to come across the likes of Lance or to even hear about him, and then not to talk of going further to ask for maybe a kind of intellectual assistance from him. But here's the case today: he's with us, and we have the opportunity to connect with him. So let's see. It's like I can see Lance is back. It will be a pleasure
Yeah.
so that we can, yeah, Lance, if you are back, kindly take up and let's see how we can fix the network issue and do an exciting wrap up.
Well, yeah, I hope this is all right. I'm on my phone right now. Can you all hear me well?
Exactly, very clear. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So I was wondering if there were any questions, like, but long story short, I'm really sorry for talking so long. Like I didn't even realize we were almost at the hour. But long story short, I got into Starks, and then I did one product for Giza. It was really great, like the compiler, and then I went on to another product. When that was finished, it was called Giza Agents. And at that time, I had a disagreement with the co-founders on the implementation of it, and we actually ended up parting ways. So it was literally like earlier this year where we were saying, okay, maybe it's best if I wanted to bring Giza to Nigeria, so I was planning a trip to Lagos. They didn't necessarily agree with the decision, and then also when it came to the implementation, the library, I wanted to use web3.py, they wanted to use ape. So it was something where it was a mutual agreement, but it ended, like I basically ended up in Nigeria, just talking about starts, and I was just like, this is a good time to start a startup. Like there were a lot of things in Nigeria where I was like, okay, that could be fixed. For example, payments. It was something that I was like, there's basically no way to pay directly with crypto. And the government is likely not going to allow it. So we had to find a way to pay with crypto and settle in Naira. So that was when I started Saray, and then over time we just keep learning, iterating, and now we have this product that we really want to use with central banks around. So that was literally the whole story. I'm so sorry. Like I kind of got lost in the sauce talking about my whole story.
Well, I think your story is really captivating because I feel like, if not anything, inspire someone to push and like getting to hear. Mostly we hear the results of people, but we don't know how they get there, the process of how they get there, right? So I think it was well structured. But I think one thing I wanted to ask really is that you always talk about hackathons, and open
Oh
source,
yeah.
but I feel like you didn't really touch on that. So if you can like let our community know like the essence of hackathons and open source contributions. Yeah.
Man, yeah. I didn't even get into hackathons. That's like the most important part of the story. Um, so my first Web3 hackathon was ETH Global New York in 2022. It was like summer 2022, and man, oh man, yeah, I just kind of got a glimpse at what Web3 hacking was about, and I just fell in love. You know, it's such a genuine community where the best people are willing to help each other, and everybody is in it for the betterment of the common person and not just themselves. Man, like it was good vibes. So that kind of got me locked in on, trying to do a bunch of the ETH Global hackathons. So it was ETH New York in 2022. And then actually at that project, we didn't even submit, right? So then my teammate, he said, he wasn't even into Web3. I basically kind of, I don't want to say forced him, but I was like, yo, is this dope Web3 hackathon? I know you only do HTML, CSS, but like we should absolutely do it. And we went ahead and went to New York. We did it together, and it was a good time. And but the thing is, we're such rookies that we didn't even submit. We weren't even able to submit. Like I deployed my smart contracts as the video was due, as the presentation and everything was due, and we hadn't even started on that. So it was then that I realized that I really wanted to do this stuff. And then what my teammate said, he said, you try once, you try twice, and then on the third time you typically get it. And it's crazy because I tried again in ETH Online, and it was like around October, I think, October 2022. And then later at DevCon, that was my third ETH Global Hackathon. We actually ended up getting first place for a live streaming project. So I built mostly on LivePeer. And then ever since then, I've just been kind of like chasing hackathons. But as I was chasing hackathons, I was I was basically away from home for way too long because rent is expensive in the US, and I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And even though Charlotte is a relatively cheap city for the US, I was still spending a lot of money for, basically not even spending a lot of time there. So then that was when the idea of nomading came about, where I was just like, there are people in crypto. I had met plenty of people who nomad, and they just follow the events. And I was like, man, let me at least try it out for a year or something. And then I did that, and I ended up just going full nomad. Like I sold my car, I gave everything away. Like I literally own nothing outside of what's in my bedroom at my parents' home, and what's in my suitcase in 2 bags. So I'm extremely mobile. It was how I was able to zip around from Nigeria to Ghana to Kenya, now Thailand. And I think it's been an experience where like for example, I'm gonna do ETH Bangkok after DevCon, and it's just a matter of doing something from 0 to 1 and getting really good at it, because that's how great startups are built, is when you just go 0 to 1 on something. And hackathons give you the perfect reason to just sit down for 38 hours and focus on one thing for an extended period of time, no distractions. And the hackathon mentality, I kind of carry with it in real life. So like, if you all know me, like I love having a good time. Like on the weekends and everything, I'm all about balance. But then during the week is like hackathon mode. And then if I have a hackathon on the weekend, you know, I make sure to get my rest. But it's typically just the way I work is small, really effective bursts of energy and then long resting periods. So it's worked out for me. I think everybody has their own workflow, and we shouldn't just, you know, submit to like one standard, like of 9 to 5. Like I think everyone should be free enough to find their own work habits. But yeah, like hackathons are the most important thing as a builder, because that reflex, that muscle is literally a muscle of being able to come up with an idea and then quickly come up with a MVP. Like that is a really important muscle to work out. And if you have a strong muscle with that, then you'll do well in the space. Because even when it comes to open source projects, like a pull request can literally be a hackathon. If you have the specifications for it, you can just spend the next few days really busting it out and impress the team, and then maybe get a grant or something. So like, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Licam, because it's critical to do them, but then at the same time, always outdo yourself. Like at the next hackathon, work with the software that you've never worked with before, and then have intention behind your projects, because that's how you really not only learn about the tech, but you learn about yourself. You know, what do you value? For example, like before every hackathon, I kind of like meditate and say, okay, if this were to become a company, what would I want it to actually be like? Like, what would I want it to feel like? And then I kind of develop that emotional attachment to the project before it starts, so that I have that driving force of wanting it to be a reality. So, yeah. The last I actually haven't done a hackathon in a while though. The last hackathon that I did was earlier this year. It was in March. I've mostly been on a learning spree, like learning about DeFi, learning about the financial ecosystem, which is still new to me.
All right, cool. I think the last question I just want to put forward before we just open the floor shortly for questions is like, you know, like a lot of people suffer with inferiority complex. All right, code is not like, yeah, nobody's born with coding skills, right? So then you convince yourself, because the topic for today was how to, like, the roadmap to a results driven career. So most people nowadays, because of especially where we find ourselves, people are moving to tech because they think there's anything in tech as compared to traditional industry that we know. So one thing that scares a lot of people is inferiority complex. So how do people build themselves to that extent where they can lead a result-driven career?
Well, I would say just stay on GitHub. I mean, GitHub is your portfolio. Oh man.
All right,
Hey,
so
Lee Kim, I actually have to go at the hour, man.
all right, bro, got it. All right,
So
all right,
I'm really sorry, but I dropped my Telegram in the chat. So if anybody wants to hit me up, like you absolutely can.
exactly. So you guys should hit Lance up on his Telegram, and I think, yeah, we
Oh yeah,
definitely
it's a new chat,
definitely.
huh?
I think another cool time in this boot camp, we will definitely have a part where I think the network will be quite stable and everything.
Yeah. But just
Yeah.
like the game about building is about just being persistent. Like don't think about the inferiority. Like you're always gonna feel that, even when you're really good. Like I still feel imposter syndrome, you know, but the key is to just feel it and don't let it stop you. Just keep building and keep going. Like be an innocent learner. Stop judging yourself while you're learning. It's not good for your mental health. So just have a clear mind, have clear intentions, and you'll be okay, you know.
All right, cool. So one thing I'll do after just this call is that I'll add you to our WhatsApp community so that people can just ask you questions directly from there. And yeah.
Sounds good, man.
All right, bro. Have a good one. Thank you for passing through. We definitely look forward to a part two.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All
I'll
right.
see y'all.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All
Mhm.
right. Thanks a lot. Well, you can. So I think we absolutely above the hour mark, and it is a great time for Lance to give a wrap up. And for sure, since he's going to be with us, you can hit him up on Telegram, you can hit him up on WhatsApp. Just ask any question, and then you'll be able to get an answer. So now, Likem, do we still have much to say or much to talk about?
Yeah. So I think if anybody missed the question that they wanted to ask Lance, or
Yeah,
they could just ask it here, or if there's,
exactly,
I'll just add him to our WhatsApp community. Then you can ask just a few minutes if you want to
exactly.
can ask, or you can just ask him on the first.
Yeah. So I was actually going to ask Lance a very nice question on how I can get a wife in Web3. So, but he's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that. Okay. Anyway, Jokoto,
Yeah.
Loveless. Yeah, so that's fine. It was a nice session, to be honest. One of the kind I've enjoyed a lot. When people share their personal experiences, it kind of even give a lot of motivation and insight them to come and do presentation,
Exactly.
because this one is actually based on reality
Exactly.
and not craft. You can see how maybe the person began and how he was able to wage through and why he is where he is now. So these things, it helps a lot. And we are starting a little by little. And guys, one other thing I want to add, maybe those who are here, we are keeping tabs on the regular attendees, those who are very regular, very proactive, and are always on the dot for each and every activity. As far as this bootcamp is concerned, it is not going to go free. We are going to actually award it. We are going to award it. So, oh, sorry. Sorry for breaking the protocol, guys. Likem and Sabia and Co. But I just thought like it's good. Maybe we kind of try to say this, and maybe those who think this is just something maybe for nothing, there is something for something in here. So let's try our best. Yes, the good should always be rewarded for being good and being timely. So that's another thing we are going to take note of. So if yeah, Fedos, your hand is raised, come up about. Yeah,
Yeah, good afternoon.
yeah. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Fedos. Go ahead.
Yeah, please, I still have a problem with my project work. I couldn't join yesterday's section because I had a like a network problem. So I want to ask maybe if I could still get an assistant.
Okay, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, after everything, I went through the whole process, and then with the token aspect, I think the problem is at the token side because when I'm trying to push, they tell me that there is a problem with the token something. I don't know if,
Okay.
and when I try to do
Yeah.
it
So
manually
so
too, it's the same thing.
okay. So what we're going to do is right after this, you can share that on WhatsApp. Then we will try to guide you through that. So these are the things. Just another thing, we are always open. Whenever you are having maybe a particular challenge, don't wait for even office hours or maybe for us to have a deep dive session. You can always hit on any of us anytime of the day, and you rest assured you will be attended to. You can either just forward it to me. If it is beyond my control, I will forward it to the rest of the. Um, okay, so after this meeting, you can send it on WhatsApp, or you can either forward it to Likem or Sahabia. They will be able to help address that issue effectively for you.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a challenge, just web
Yeah.
dev Discord and just add myself or Abia. We
So
would
so Likem, it's like you are your end. There is hitches. We can hear you, but I hope you heard Fidel's case, right?
yes, please. I heard. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay. So please kindly after this you can assist her to be able. I didn't know the ladies were among here, and I was preaching to get a Web3, a wife in Web3. So that's okay. Anyway, that's on the side of stuff. So I think the floor is still open. If you still have anything, you can come out with it. For with it rather before we close. I think we have passed the hour mark, and if there is nothing, Likem, you can wrap up, and then we will call it a close. Thanks to you all for adhering to the adjustments and the inconvenience of this afternoon. We know
Yeah.
it was going to be a challenge, but you guys have really proven us wrong, saying that when there is determination, whatever being the case, I think now I can confidently say we can organize a meeting at 2 a.m. Yeah, and, and it will work out. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you all for. I mean, you have challenge where I said just add us on Discord, and we will definitely reach out and see what the problem is and help you. Thank you all for coming, and yeah, I think that's it. Habib, I think yeah, we're done.